The real crux of this case is, does the federal government have power? Because no one disputes the provinces could enact something like the Act if they so chose, and some provinces have so chose. The question is, does Parliament have this power to regulate the cumulative aspects of greenhouse gases?
Doug Ford's government began its court battle today against the federal government's carbon tax, which it imposed on April 1st. Yes, it's a legal battle, but it's also an ideological one, and it could have implications on the upcoming federal election.
The sources of greenhouse gas emissions are so varied that the federal power would be so broad and so amorphous.
In an extremely unusual move, the proceedings were streamed live from inside the courtroom. In a nutshell, the province is arguing the federal government doesn't have the constitutional right to tell the province how to deal with greenhouse gases. The feds have been arguing it is a national issue. Politicians from each side have been making their pitches to voters.
We all need to take action on climate change. We just released Canada's Changing Climate Report. It shows that Canada is warming at twice the international average, and pollution doesn't know any borders. So we need to take action here. We're actually in the top 10 countries when it comes to pollution. Per person, we're really high.
We put a plan together that meets Justin Trudeau's targets of a 30% reduction. He insisted on going ahead with a plan, even though not just one province, not just two provinces, not just three, but now four provinces, and possibly after the Alberta election, a fifth province, all say they don't support this approach.
Doug Ford campaigned on scrapping Kathleen Wynne's cap-and-trade program, arguing it was a tax and grab, and quickly made good on the promise after being elected. Initial estimates for the legal costs were pegged at $30 million. Under the Paris Agreement signed in 2016, Canada promised to curb emissions by 30% by 2030. Ontario has reduced its emissions by 22%, largely because provincial Liberals cancelled coal-fired plants. Premier Ford has led the charge against the Prime Minister's carbon pricing plan and is turning it into an election issue for Trudeau.
It's clearly a political battle between Ford and Trudeau. This is each of them staking out their political territory, Ford delivering on a promise that he made to his base. He may lose the battle and win the war. I think he's going to lose the battle in court, but he's building a political constituency. He's building this this identity in Canadian politics that is anti-climate change. He's contributing to the polarization of this issue even further, one that will help Conservatives both in the present and I think in the future.
The federal government is offering a rebate to cover the cost of carbon pricing. The Ford government argues it will fall short of the actual impact on consumers. So today, the province made its arguments before the 5-judge panel. Tomorrow, the federal government's lawyers will have their turn, followed by interveners on Wednesday, which include the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, who are siding with the province, and the Assembly of First Nations, who are siding with the feds.